Hey, what's up, everybody? It's DJ Modi here from What You Say Radio. Appreciate everybody always tuning in, locking it in right here. And this morning, I kind of want to go back. I want to go back to last week to the plane crash in DC. There was a couple of stories that I want to share that I want to highlight on my page here as they're important stories to some of the people that were really affected very closely by the tragedy that went down in DC. Uh, First one I'm going to share is a flight attendant that was in Detroit, and she was scheduled to go to DC, but something happened, and she ended up a friend or a fellow attendant instead went on the flight instead of her. And so, man, that has to be really tough. I know she's probably going to be living with some type of survivor's remorse, for who knows how long. She's probably going to need some therapy. But again, I just wanted to highlight a couple of stories. Another story that I'm going to share as well in this video is a father of the pilot that was on the American Airlines. He was the pilot of the American Airlines flight that went down. And so, what is unique and really, um, man, just crazy about this story is that his father used to be a Marine or Army, and a Marine or he was in the Army, and he used to fly helicopters, and he used to fly over the DC area, airport area, so he knew all of the routes per se going into the DC area. So when he got word that a flight went down, his instincts kicked in and he called his son. His son didn't answer the phone, and then he sort of connected the dots. So again, son was a pilot of the American Airlines flight that went down, and the father was a Marine or in the Army, one of the two, and he flew helicopters, um, which is, man, just crazy with the plane hitting a helicopter. It's just a unique story. And so I just want to share those stories with y'all in case you didn't see them. And the first one we're going to get into is the flight attendant who just missed, just barely missed that flight. Here it is. Check it out.
Missing that flight or working on that airplane the entire day before your shift ended, and hours later, tragedy strikes. That is what one young woman from Detroit is dealing with tonight.
Yeah, she's a flight attendant and worked on that same jet from city to city on Wednesday before handing the job off to the next crew, which included two of her most dear friends. She wanted to share her thoughts with Sean Lay, who's at Detroit Metro Airport tonight. Sean?
Her name is Alexis Burgess, guys. I met her right here after she got her flight home after working that long day yesterday on that very jet going city to city. At the very end in Wichita, she said goodbye, have a safe flight to her other crew who are dear friends, only to learn a few hours
Man, that is crazy. Her friends, I mean, that has to be really traumatic for her under that circumstance.
later of the absolute worst. And she's now coming home with the thought stuck in her head, of course, that could have easily been me.
I don't know whether to be grateful or to break down. I don't know whether to quit or go harder or be strong or be braver, brave for them. I don't know.
Alexis Burgess is stunned. She is in shock. If a flight attendant called in sick on the American Airlines flight from Wichita to Washington, Alexis would not be in her mother's arms here at Detroit Metro today. Burgess is a flight attendant who worked in that same plane all day Wednesday from Philly to Toronto to DC. Her shift ended in Wichita, where she greeted the next crew, Ian Epstein and Denasia Elder. That crew lost their lives.
The last thing that I said to him was, have a safe flight. And the last thing he said to me was, have a good overnight.
Some of Burgess's personal items were still on that plane, when it collided with the helicopter and went down.
I'm just in complete disbelief. I didn't even see how it looked. I didn't see the video. I didn't see anything. I just saw a small picture of it in the water. And to know that I worked on there and to see it in pieces like that, I left a water bottle in the back of 21C, and I worked the back. I worked the other flight attendant I worked with. She worked first class. I worked the back. So I'm just thinking about the things that I left on that plane, and the plane is in pieces now.
As a mom with a daughter being a flight attendant, you pray every time she boards until she lands. So this is very heart-wrenching. This is very hurtful.
If I was on reserve and one of those flight attendants got sick or had to stay, then they would have scheduled me to work the flight back to my base. Yes.
That close.
Yes, it is. So I feel like
Man, wow, that was close.
I made it by the skin of my teeth and by the grace of God.
Man, I'm telling y'all, that is going to affect her for quite a while. What a story. Again, just barely, that could have been her versus, a friend or, one of her coworkers. And so, man, sending prayers out to her. Here's the other story that I wanted to share with you with the father and son. Check it out.
Coverage continues of the terrible tragedy that played out in Washington, D.C. Last night. Our coverage does continue right here for you on Live Now from Fox. And we want to continue to really share more personal stories of this tragedy. Right now, we are learning more about one of the pilots on the American Airlines flight and his connection to Georgia. For more, we are joined by Fox 5 Atlanta reporter Eric Perry for the very latest, who spoke to the aviator's father. Tell us what you learned here on this very, very sad story.
Yeah, Mike, I think his dad is still working to comprehend and come to grasp about his son there. He says his son is 28 years old, Sam Lilly, and says that he knew something was wrong when he never got a phone call back. And that's when he did some more digging there as well. Now he's just waiting in D.C. for more information.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Timothy Lilly is still trying to come to terms with the fact his son, Sam, will never land back home.
Last night when I saw on Fox News there was a crash in D.C., I really didn't think there was any way it was my son, but I started to do the research and I realized that was his schedule to be on that flight. And then, I got with his fiance and confirmed that. And then when it all came crashing down.
Timothy and the family have ties to Savannah, but was in New York at the time he learned the news. He raced to the scene of the crash, hoping for answers.
My driver had to get through a bunch of roadblocks just to get to the airport, We had to keep explaining to every police officer along the way. And then when we finally got there, they took me to one of the American lounges. And they just had me fill out some forms and said, okay, we'll call you when we're ready for you.
He says his son started his flight training in 2019 and has been with PSA Airlines, which is a part of the American Airlines group, for 2 years. Sam was engaged to be married. This father and son duo shared a love for taking to the sky, as his dad was a military helicopter pilot for 20 years.
In the 90s, I used to fly in and out of the Pentagon regularly. And I can tell you, if you're flying on that route along the Potomac, if you're wearing night vision goggles, it's going to be very hard to see that airplane. If you're not.
So man, with his experience and his knowledge, has some great insight on the perspective from the helicopter and what they were doing that night. So if anybody's qualified to give their opinion, the father is definitely able to do that. Let's get back into it.
Wearing the goggles, it's going to be easier. You might have a chance.
It's an agonizing wait for answers for this father.
From what I could see from the video, those guys, they turned straight into the jet. I think that the PSA jet was doing everything right. I think that the Army pilot made a grave error, which really hurts me because that is my brother's. And now my son is dead.
Yeah, such tough words there.
Wow. Again, man, such crazy stories. I don't know how else to kind of describe it, but you see the relationship there, the father and son, one a pilot in the for the airlines, and one was a Army Marine guy that flew in that same area, knew and understands the area and what effect or what the pilots on the Black Hawk might have been seeing or didn't see at night flying over that area. So it's a very compelling story. I got one more quick story I want to share regarding the DC plane where um, a flight, a person that was going to get on, a passenger was going to get onto that flight at DC, but something happened with her flight and she had to get off the plane. Luckily, thank God. But here's her story here.
So basically, we were about to take off, and there was a separate malfunction having to do with, I guess, the gas or some pressure. They were resetting the system, and as they were resetting it, then we got another call. Hey, this is your captain speaking, completely unrelated. We are going to have to deboard because DCA is no longer accepting flights. Fortunately, there's been an accident, but we didn't know what was going on, and now we do. It's very sad.
So certainly a story we'll be following through the night as this tragic story continues to develop in our nation's capital after this
Again, man, just amazing that, by the grace of God, that she wasn't on that flight because, she would have been part of that tragedy. And so, again, I just wanted to revisit last week and remember, man, we will not forget this. We will not forget those lives and souls that were lost. We're praying for the families. Of those lost during this tragedy. We're praying for, um, man, safety in the air as we've had another two plane incidents since the first one in DC last week. And I'll discuss that further. But man, let's keep the people, the souls, the people, families lifted up in prayer. And let's, man, pray for the airways, the air transportation, and hopefully we get back on track with that. So, with that being said, I appreciate everybody always tuning in, locking it in. Give me some feedback. Again, these are amazing stories, and we're just praying for everybody. Like, subscribe to the page, and y'all take care. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.